It's kind of crazy just how many different things there are to talk about in the Canucks landscape right now. And the weird part about it all is that I feel still, in a way, incomplete about it all, but also, a little bit stuck. Because every few hours, there's a new update or a new scoop about JT Miller and him getting traded to New York and why it didn't happen, or the names involved, and on top of that, there's the Elias Pettersson thing. He wants to stay in Vancouver, and then the commentary made by guys like Jake DeBrusk in the media about Pettersson and Miller, or one of them getting traded. I feel like there are so many things to talk about, but I don't know how to put it all together. It's like a puzzle where all the pieces are misaligned and misshapen, thus confusing me on the outside wanting to go out there and talk about this stuff. Do we make one video about Elias Pettersson wanting to stay? No, I don't think that's really feasible. Do we talk about Jake DeBrusk for 7 minutes and talk about how he doesn't want one of these guys to get traded? I don't really think that's feasible either. Can we make an entire video about Myers and McDavid? We kind of alluded to it in the video yesterday or earlier this morning at 1 a.m., so I don't really know if that's possible too. So instead, let's just dive into everything, talk about all of this stuff, spend 2 to 3 minutes on each topic, and just provide a whole bunch of context as to what's going on with the team right now. The show is brought to you, as always, by ExpressVPN. Go out there and click our affiliate link in the description for some free months on our VPN and some savings on your behalf. It also supports the channel as well, so I'm very grateful for that. But let's talk about the biggest story that was posted by the NHLPA's Twitter account earlier this morning. Take a look at this. Edmonton's Connor McDavid will have a hearing for cross-checking Vancouver's Connor Garland. The date and time is to be determined. And then, just a few minutes ago, the NHL Player Safety Twitter account said that Connor McDavid's hearing will be held tomorrow afternoon. You know what else is going to be held tomorrow afternoon? Tyler Myers' hearing for cross-checking Edmonton's Evan Bouchard. The date and time are also going to be around the same. So this is our big update that both McDavid and Myers' hearings are set for tomorrow. Jeff Merrick also posted this earlier this morning that both the McDavid and Myers hearings are by phone. Neither are going to be in person. So that prohibits the suspensions, if they, of course, are given out, to be above a certain amount. Realistically, just based off of a lot of the predictions, a lot of people giving their 2 cents and debating whether or not one was worse than the other, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's Connor McDavid. Because it's McDavid, he's not going to get as big of a suspension. Because Tyler Myers is a repeat offender, he's going to get a little bit more. Oh, it's probably going to be 2 for Myers or 1 for McDavid, or McDavid's going to get a fine and Myers going to get 5. A lot of people are tossing out some really extreme examples, but for now, we'll just wait until tomorrow before we get that actual conclusion. If it were up to me, though, I think both of them do deserve to be suspended based off of the actions. Connor McDavid, of course, his Minnesota Wild elbow earlier this week was a really bad hit, too. It feels like Connor McDavid has been getting a little dirtier in terms of his physical altercations on the ice the past little while, and this Connor Garland thing certainly put the icing on the cake. A lot of people were also saying, hey, McDavid's allowed to do that. Garland was all up in his grill. He was interfering with the guy. And that's true. I don't disagree with Connor Garland's effectiveness in actually interfering with McDavid. It probably should have been a penalty, but that wasn't going to get called at that stage of the game. But for Connor McDavid to bounce back with a stick to the face of Connor Garland, of course, that is not a good move. That's not really appropriate there. It actually isn't the first time that McDavid has gone after a Canucks guy with his stick. This was posted about on the Our Canucks sub, McDavid slashing both Soucy and Hughes on the head last year. Soucy's was called for 2 minutes and Hughes's wasn't. There also was a cross-check to Miller's head last year, no penalty to McDavid. Canucks fans never forget, man, especially when your name is Connor McDavid and you're the best player in the NHL, or you're supposed to be the best player in the NHL. Anyways, enough about that. Let's actually talk about some of the other updates with the Canucks. Now, we've been talking all this talk about JT Miller and his trade situation with the Rangers the past 12 hours or so, but I also wanted to go over some of the other things. So Elias Pettersson, Elliotte Friedman went out there and spoke on the broadcast about how Elias Pettersson reportedly went to Canucks management and told them that he does not want to get traded, which was apparently reciprocated by the Canucks staff. It seems like their preference is to trade JT Miller and that they don't want to trade Petey, which makes sense considering the fact that they just committed so many years and dollars to Elias Pettersson. And also with the fact that Pettersson has been playing a little bit better as of late too. The game against Edmonton, I heard some really good things. He was hitting guys, he was getting involved, he was forechecking, not necessarily scoring, which is what you want to see out of an $11.6 million player, but because of the lack of scoring he had for the past year and a bit, just getting back to speed in any capacity is a good direction for him, and of course we hope that it evolves to him becoming a 100-point player once more. He also is younger than JT, so there's that argument for him, and ultimately I do think that for Pettersson, him wanting to stay in Vancouver is not really a surprise. When you trade away the young superstar, it usually bites you in the back at some point. Jack Eichel and Matthew Tkachuk both won Stanley Cups shortly after their trades, by the way, so that might be some sort of a red flag in this situation. And going back over onto the post-game, I wanted to talk about one more thing here. This is what Jake DeBrusk went out there and spoke about in regards to the Pettersson and Miller talks. Let's go out there and read this. So, Ian McIntyre published this earlier this afternoon. Facing uncertain future with the Canucks, Miller steps up versus the Oilers. He is a gamer. Let's go out there and read what Jake DeBrusk said after the game. I'm happy that Miller was playing for us tonight. I've been here for 45 games. You know, I signed here from Boston as a free agent for a reason. I signed here to play with either Elias Pettersson or JT Miller. My main thing was to play with those two guys, so I don't want a trade to happen. I don't want them to leave. Like I said, I'm 40-something games in, but I want to play at least 82 and then a playoff run with them, and then we'll see what everybody says. Quinn Hughes went out there and spoke out as well about the same trade reports on Miller. Of course, I'm aware. I think that's part of my job to be aware of things like that and just have a good feel for what's going on. But you know, through everything, I thought everyone played amazing, and especially Miller. The way he played against that line, especially in the third, you know, he's really competitive. He's a gamer, so it was nice to see. Over the last bunch of years, Hughes said, 6 years it's been, Miller has been a guy that's always going to compete and show up. A lot of passion, a lot of care. You know, like when Mcdavid and Draisaitl, two of the three best players in the world, are in town, he's going to be ready to go. He wants that challenge, and he's up for it, as you saw tonight. So, with these post-game comments from Canucks players talking about how important Miller is to the team and how good he is and how Jake DeBrusk literally says, I don't want these guys to get traded, it does kind of feel a bit melancholic, to be honest. Like, I feel sort of weird listening to all of these comments and saying, oh yeah, but Elliotte Friedman's talking all this talk about how the guy almost got traded and he almost got told that he was not going to play and this and that and the other thing. It's been a really big story, and I'm very intrigued as to how it's all going to shape up over the next few days here. So I'll leave you all with that. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Tyler Myers and Connor McDavid's hearings being announced? How do you feel about Elias Pettersson not wanting out? What are your thoughts about DeBrusk and Hughes speaking out about Miller? Check out Express if you've got the time. I hope you enjoyed this. Finish 9 and bye.